What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Essential Scares podcast, the only show that dares to ask the question, is it essential? I am your host, Corbin, and with me today, as always, is Alan.
Good nightmare.
Oh.
And this has been Essential Scares. Oh boy.
We are sending our best today.
Yeah.
Bobby?
Yeah.
Oh man.
How we doing
today?
today?
Hopefully that is an indication of the show's quality that we've got coming up for you today. We are kicking off our continuation of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, which you may remember we covered Nightmare on Elm Street 1 way back, like 70 episodes ago. So if you didn't watch that one or listen to that one yet, go back and check that out. And we're coming to you today with the infamous, the cult classic, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. But first, Bobby has a spoiler warning.
I do. This will serve as your first one and only spoiler warning for A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. If you do not want the movie spoiled for you, please skip the time code provided in our show notes or description for our essential spoiler-free discussion. Ahem. A Nightmare on Elm Street is so gay.
How gay is it?
A Nightmare on Elm Street is so gay that we as a country panned it as a bad movie inappropriately, and it took us nearly 40 years to mature as a nation to find out that, in fact, is a pretty good movie. Alan.
This spoiled like the whole episode. That was
Yeah, I mean, that's literally the entire... Do I need a synopsis?
I spoiled nothing about the movie itself.
Yeah, that's true. Bobby's only spoiling our content now. No longer the movie.
All right, here's what we want to talk about in the episode, in the spoiler warning. Oh yeah, there's also a movie. Fucking don't worry about it.
Oh boy.
5 years after the events of the first Nightmare on Elm Street film, a family gets a sweet deal on a house, which always means good things are going to happen in that house. And they move into Nancy's old residence. And this almost immediately starts causing Jesse, our protagonist, to have massive issues where he dreams of Freddy Krueger, because of course he does. As things progress, there's love interest. The movie's got everything, okay? It's got love interest. It's got S&M gay bars. It's got overtones and undertones we'll get into galore. But you know what it has in spades? Our boy Freddy Krueger coming in, ripping, tearing, having a grand old time. There's a lot of gross scenes. This film is very visceral in a way that I wasn't expecting. And it's a lot of fun. Let's just open it from there. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed this film.
This is really good. I told you, it's very good. We needed to mature as a nation to like this movie because it was only panned because it is so gay. And
seriously.
Like
especially for 85, it's like
Well, it's about sexuality. Like, again, A Nightmare on Elm Street is oftentimes like there is a teenage sexuality is a big part of it, right? Yeah. Nancy being like bars on the door, like all that stuff, right? And the same thing with like him and his dad
talks about that all the time in regards to the first movie.
Yeah, so. and this one the same thing. Like him and his dad aren't getting along, but him and his mom get along very well, which is like a stereotypical gay son thing. Like it's full of like all the boys hang out in the locker room getting sweaty and there's so much the scene where he's dancing to pop and he's jacking his proverbial pop gun ween on like
I laughed very hard at that sequence for what it's worth. I genuinely I was like
one of
very
the most iconic scenes. Yeah,
it's
very
played for laughs.
Yes,
you're supposed to laugh at it.
It's very funny, and it the actor who plays Jesse, Mark Patton, I think is his name.
That's
phenomenal. Like
really good.
This guy, like you think of like 80s
movie destroyed his career.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You think of like these 80s slashers, and there's so much just garbage throwaway acting all the time. And
there's
this guy just
in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in this film, but Our main
Who would
character
you say?
just did not phone it in.
Who would I say?
Yeah. Who would you say, huh?
How about the cook?
The cook.
The cook at the barbecue. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Okay. I think even
No, that guy was trying.
Getting actually
Well,
spicy.
that's
Yeah,
the
that was a featured extra, right? I mean, I think that I forget her name, but the actress that plays Lisa is okay.
Kim Myers.
I don't think she's that great. And actually, I think that she was all right for most of the movie, except for the scenes that she shares when Mark Patton is really like going for it when Freddy's taking over him, and she's like not acting up to his level in those scenes.
No,
and it's so like that made it obvious for me. And then I was like, oh,
Mark Patton's doing like
maybe
the
she's not
shuddered
that good.
breath, just like
yeah,
like that shit.
Yeah.
And she's like,
It's perfect.
no, Jesse, like,
yeah,
you'll be fine.
you can fight him.
Yeah.
Like,
Show
oh no,
who's
it's
boss.
no, I do. I know that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a spicy take, but I see the value of the spice.
Yeah. But so I want to set one baseline in place here though. So I've seen this movie before a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby, you've seen this a few times, I would assume. At least
Yes.
once, right?
Yeah, I've seen it I think once or twice before this, yes.
But Alan, this was your first watch ever.
Yep.
So for anybody that's listening or watching, you should know that Alan has only seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, and Freddy vs. Jason. And we are now filling in the blanks, right?
Correct.
So Alan,
this is a fun ride for you.
Yeah, keeping that in mind, I mean, what were your expectations going into this movie, and like how were they met or not met, I guess?
This movie exceeded any sort of expectation that I would have had because
You're a homophobe.
Well, I cotton K. I don't know what to say at this point. Shit.
Oh boy.
Walked into that one a little bit.
Wow, that was good.
So I think the thing for me is like I've often heard that the quality of this franchise varies wildly installment to installment. So I kind of had that like bias in my head, and there were just many times where I just kept like I sat here, I'm like 20 it was every kind of like 15 minutes or so I'm like, so when's it gonna be like just bad? I kept asking myself that question, like, when am I just going to go, okay, now it's really dumb and bad? And, like, I mean, it's got its own cheesy bits and cheesy nature and, like, weird bits. Like, when he goes up to his sister and, like, stops, that sequence just feels really weird and gross.
Oh, when he almost kills but doesn't?
Yeah, like, that's...
the way that it's, like, I think it's the editing, like, really throws it off. It, like, yeah, it feels really, really awkward.
Yes. So,
and
like,
not in, like, the way that it's supposed to feel, I think. It's
no.
just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, there's that. But, like, just overall, I kept going, this is great. I mean, the transformation into the birthing of Freddy sequence.
Yeah.
That is some of the best body horror that I've seen in ages. It's disgusting what they managed to pull off. It's so good. So good.
Where he screams and the eyes there, too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
I love
so
that.
Cool.
The special effects in this movie in general are really good. And I think that's, like, kind of like a pro and a con almost because the pro, obviously, is that everything that they show you is done really, really wonderfully well, right? Like, especially the transformations, like, it feels like they blew their budget on those shots. And totally worth it. You know, the very first time you see it and his hand is like opening up, right? And the nails coming out of the fingers. It's like, wow, what a great shot. What a great scene. But then on the other hand, every time Freddy kills somebody, it feels like an R-rated movie that's cut for TV. Because like you never really see anything.
Besides like the gym teacher.
Yeah, where they show everything, and that feels a little bit like sadistic in a weird way because it's like you know that you're supposed to feel like that's coming from Jesse, right? Because Jesse like kind of hates the gym teacher, But like at the same time, it almost feels unearned. I think because it's not the gym teacher's not in the movie as a negative force enough,
Yeah.
considering how big his death is compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I did like
I agree.
Grady's kill was good. When
Oh,
you see it
Grady's kill,
go through the door first. That was awesome.
I mean,
That's probably the
considering
best
his
way to
parents
utilize that.
are right there, and they know
Yeah.
their son just got stabbed through the chest. Yeah,
Amazing.
Well, and
The
then
other
you
thing-
just get Jesse just like freaking the fuck out, like so good, like oh yeah, like
one thing I also really want to commend this film is like committing to I think they did the blurring of dream sequence and reality really well. Like when the whole S&M bar sequence, I genuinely am sitting there like, okay, so we're in a dream. And they even like play into that because like when eventually they're, find out, no, we're going to make him run laps because the gym teacher found him in the bar. He's doing laps and like there's a shot where you just see this massive red light in the corner. And that's like so typical of a dreamscape. And I'm like, I literally have written down, so this is a dream. And then like the whole sequence finishes. He comes to school. The teacher's dead. And I'm like, okay, so we're playing by different rules here. And I was so they played me for a fiddle and I loved it.
I will say that this one is, I think, even better at making you like not know what is a dream and what isn't. Like the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street tries to do like the waking dreams, and you almost get a sense that Jesse is having those like waking dreams all the time, which is like really because like you're not sure whether or not he's asleep or awake half the time, which is super cool. Yeah.
I agree that I think that those are done generally well, but I forget exact which sequence it is, but there's a point where like the dream sequences are basically stopped entirely, right? So it's like the fake out of it, I think, stops working for me because they make it really obvious that everything is happening in real life. Because even when Jesse is asleep and he's being further and further possessed by Freddy, the things that are then happening that Freddy is doing are in real life usually. Right?
I think it ends after the gym teacher kill. I think it stops being like, because it's like, okay, so shit, this actually happened. Like,
I guess the one thing I'll say is a negative of kind of dropping that is you lose some of the inherent creativity that I know I remember praising Freddy for, of like, I can do whatever the fuck I want because it's a dream. Like, you kind of lose. This movie definitely doesn't have those like inventive bits because it kind of can't.
But that hasn't started yet, really. Because like Freddy, I guess Freddy, the only time you ever see Freddy like get wacky and wild, like, is when he extends his arms in the first one. Everything else, like he cuts his fingers off, but like, and it rips his face off. But like,
I was really wrestling with that when watching this movie because I was like, okay, how much of my thoughts regarding that, right, the dream powers, like,
are coming from Dream Warriors?
Yeah, like how much of that is coming
from
from Dream Warriors on, right, where they really lean into that, versus how much of that like would realistically have been my expectations going into this, and that was really tough for me because the last time I watched the first one was when we did it for the show, so it's been a little, over a year.
Well, I think like, they would be somewhere.
I agree.
But I don't know. I don't know if they would be to like that level of like we're expecting, because like Freddy Krueger isn't that like bombastic yet. Like Freddy Krueger has his first haha funny line in this movie, where he's like, "Help yourself, fucker!" Like that like.
Well, no, he had a line in the first movie, right, when he says, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy."
Yeah, or this is God.
Yeah,
which is funny because that's like, I forget that like. Because that's like my favorite line, but that line doesn't. It's just Robert Englund. It doesn't have like the voice pitch on it when he does this is God, which whatever.
You're the body, I'm the brain.
It's not.
Okay.
You're the body, I'm the brain is one of the best moments of the whole movie. He peels his skin back.
Yeah, and he's
got
the brain is
in
pulsating.
there.
Yeah. Well, and
That's
that's what
so
you look
cool.
like. That's like Nightmare 1 era, like super Freddy shit. Like,
Absolutely. And I think that is probably one of my negatives of the movie is that like I wish we had more of that in the back half. I think like the back half really leans into this is the real world aspect.
yeah.
And this is probably the coldest take, the most lukewarm, I guess, take actually that I could have is that I don't really care for all that real life parts of it. I think it's yeah. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought?
You want to have more dream sequences in A Nightmare on Elm Street? What?
How dare you have such a bold opinion?
Brave. He is brave.
I'm sorry. I had to have one good take and one, a mediocre take, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that the movie is like bad because of it. It's just like, oh, this could have been even better if. I think that's maybe how I feel about it.
No, yeah, I think there's something to that. I think that honestly, once Freddy is like killing at the pool party, part of me is like, okay, why is he super? Like, I get that he's supernatural when he's in dreams, but why is he supernatural now? There's a certain level,
like not explain like how his powers work, because they explain how his powers work in the first movie. They don't re-explain or adjust how it works in the second movie. They just show him doing more things.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, how did we get here exactly?
Yeah,
and I think part of it, what threw me out of it, even in the pool scene, is that you're kind of operating under the assumption still that he is gaining power on fear, which they mentioned in the first movie. That's how Nancy beats him in the end. Like, why didn't he kill more people? He kills like 2 people in the pool party. Like, I think he probably could have taken out a few more people in that crowd.
I remember I remember that he killed everybody, and so like the fact that most of the people survived was like
I thought that was like a bloodbath. And
I thought that I feel like with that whole sequence, there's such a missed opportunity with like the pool starting to boil, and then no one like gets boiled alive. Like, you've got a golden opportunity.
They're just a little tan.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little hot. Oh no.
I would say that is actually, this movie is really full of successes, but that is a movie's real failure, is that, right? Like, where this movie kicks ass in like everything, in like a character driven story, the themes are all there. It's really kind of fun, and again, it's still early enough in Nightmare anthology that it can still feel somewhat grounded, right? And I feel like it's this movie's failure to really like get off the ground, which actually also propelled the other movies to just go fucking bonkers with it, which is like really cool too. But but I like these somewhat grounded Nightmare movies. I really like the first one, and I really like this movie. It was kind of just good, like you know what I mean? Like,
it's weird because like I think when I think of Nightmare, I don't think of a grounded franchise. But if I were to name the ones that I liked the most, they are the grounded ones. I mean, with the exception of again, Freddy versus Jason, which is completely off the walls,
as it should be,
and Dream Warriors, which is amazing, as everybody knows. But like this one, the second one, New Nightmare, like these movies are all like actually pretty straight laced, and like maybe Nightmare going super crazy was, I mean, maybe that was actually not the right move for the franchise. I don't know. We'll see as we go. But
if any indication of the overall quality that I've been told about this franchise is, maybe it wasn't the right play.
In hindsight, right? But again, also at the same time, there's only so many times you can make a movie like this and have it be good, right?
Yeah, eventually, totally agree.
Eventually you're going to get an incompetent writer. Yeah. Or an incompetent, right? Also, the opening sequence is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like,
I was trying to decide if I liked the open or not, and honestly, I don't know. Like, I think the effects are really cool. Great use of miniatures with the
Yeah.
school bus and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But as a scene, I don't know.
it goes on for a while.
Yeah.
Jesse looks really weird, and like
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, why did he? Because like it's so noticeable. He's very odd looking in that.
Feels like
and
a
he's
like a
kind of normal
reshoot or
afterwards.
something, maybe. Like, yeah,
that they needed to do that in the beginning.
yeah.
Because they had it at the end, and like they wanted to like make it be like he remembers.
Yeah.
Which also, like, the ending, like, I feel like they tried too hard to kind of do what Nightmare 1 did,
Yeah.
but, like, again, where it was like, oh, it's a good ending, or is it? Whoo!
Yeah.
And it's like, the scene just reads so strangely, because at first they're like, it's clearly not that much longer after, because he's wearing the burn bandages
Yeah.
still, and then they talk about her party where a bunch of people just died and all their friends, and they're like, whoa, what a party, that's crazy. It's like,
Nah.
what is the mood of this scene exactly?
I can't believe I'm going back to school, and it's like
Where my gym teacher and 4 people
I
all
murdered.
died.
I murdered.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
murdered. Right? Because it's not clear whether or not they all see Freddy Krueger. Like, we see Freddy
Right.
Krueger, but we're like it's ambiguous. Like, that's the whole point. It's meant to be ambiguous whether or not it's actually Freddy Krueger or if it's just that, right? So, yeah, but I will say that final shot is way better than Nightmare 1, where the blow up doll gets pulled through the window, the fucking claw going through her chest
Yeah,
is
that's
really
fair.
cool.
That's fair.
So, how do we feel about the final girl sequence?
I have problems with it because
I strongly disliked it. I think it might be the biggest low point of the whole film
It's-
for me.
You didn't like
Yeah,
you didn't like the Rottweilers with baby masks on?
No.
Oh, that was really
disturbing,
bad.
but no.
they look terrible.
And like, I don't know. I don't need the power of love in fucking Nightmare on Elm Street. I just don't. I don't need that as like my linchpin to beat Freddy. You know?
I think that part threw me off because it's like, does she actually love him enough to beat Freddy Krueger? Like,
right? She's known this guy for fucking 3 weeks. Like,
yeah,
An indeterminate amount of time. Let's be real.
no. His dad says something like, "I've been hounding you for 2 weeks to unpack your damn room,
Yeah,
son."
but we don't know how long the implication is that this is like a slow descent into madness.
yeah.
Because
Didn't get that
he
at all.
meets Grady and then becomes like Grady's best friend, and it's seemingly like an organic way.
Which, like, side note, that's probably my favorite arc of the whole movie. It's like
Oh,
them
him and
going
Grady are
from
great.
like, I love the him and Grady relationship is just incredible,
I just want him to
and
kiss.
it's done. It's done so naturally. So like when he kills Grady at the end, it's like, oh, like that was actually done really well for just like a slasher movie.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Well, because he like Grady's just trying to help his buddy. Like,
Yeah.
But he
Ah,
fell
yeah,
asleep.
so
He
good.
fucked up.
Well, I mean,
what
that's
would you do?
went to
What if I
Yeah,
said, dude,
exactly.
you can't let
And
me
that's
fall
the-
asleep, Alan? If I
And then
fall
as soon
asleep,
as
I'm
he's
something
sleeping,
bad
he's
happen.
like, okay, nice. Now I'll
Yeah.
go to sleep too. Like I totally right. Like when
Yeah.
he's just stays awake just long enough and then goes to sleep too. That's the
Well, he even
natural
says,
conclusion.
"Good night, Jesse." Like he's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. He's good. He's calm. He figured it out. Like my buddy's just having a problem.
Yeah, because he figured in the morning they'd both wake up and everything would be fine and he could go see. It didn't matter. I didn't even need, whatever.
Yeah, everything's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. Then he got
No.
a Freddy claw through his chest.
R.I.P. to a real one.
Brady. Yeah, that's
for
the
real.
fucking truth right there.
Well, and again, that scene is done so well because the transformation is like so fucked in that scene, and Grady is chewing up the scenery with his like screams, and like it is like they had better chemistry. Very clearly, they had better chemistry than.
So you're saying the love story should have been? So we should have just flip flopped this. So he should have actually killed Lisa, totally subvert our expectations, and then Grady shows the power of love to save him at the end of the movie.
If Jack Shoulder was actually brave and not pretending to be brave after ruining Mark Patton's career, yes. Yes, I say that.
Unironically, yes.
Allegedly. Listen, he apologized for it. Go watch Scream Queens on Shudder. It ends up being a very nice ending to that whole thing. But man, that dude got away with a lot, and it was not cool what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that would have been cool. I really would have liked that. I don't know, man. Like,
it also, like, I think, you know, what lends even further into the, like, why was Lisa able, you know, to do this at the end, when they finally get together, and obviously a little bit, right, we know that you know, Mark Patton was in the closet at the time, but we know that, you know, he's a gay actor, and the movie has a lot of gay overtones and undertones, tones throughout, right? Tones everywhere,
just tones all over the place.
Yeah. When they finally kiss, it's like the most awkward, like, oh, we've been waiting all movie for this kiss. It's like, maybe, like, you really shouldn't be doing this. Like, that is the wrong move, Jesse.
This feels wrong.
Yeah. And I definitely didn't think about it the last time I watched this, which was like years ago. But watching it this time, I was just like, I don't like this at all.
God damn it.
Tell me I'm wrong, right?
You know, you're right.
Awkward.
You're right. I was like, man, this is a lot.
And it goes on for like a while.
It goes on for a while.
Nobody's enjoying themselves.
No.
Not them, not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
But at the end of the day, right? Like, this is still a slasher, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, true.
So, like, there are bits, like, we talked a lot about the effects outside of, and we've talked about one kill, but two kills actually, but right? What's your favorite kill?
Grady's my favorite kill.
Yeah.
I think that
yeah,
the gym teacher is just like too overdone for me, and the others are like nothing. So
yeah,
I know, honestly, I wish they would have spaced out more kills like the gym teacher kills later on in the movie. Like with the dad, they could have done something. Like, the dad probably shouldn't have made it. Like,
Lisa's dad, you mean, specifically?
No, Lisa's dead. Jesse's dead.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would have been good.
Especially, like, if Freddy was using Jesse to, like, choose targets at all, like, Jesse's dad probably should have been on the chopping
target.
Yeah.
For me, with the Grady kill, I can't separate the kill and right before the kill where he transforms into Freddy.
Well, it's part of the kill.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's air. You can't separate things. Like, it's such a good part of it that it is such a highlight of the film. It's not even funny. It's just so good. It's so good.
I will say this though, because we're coming back to the Grady kill, which is a highlight of the film. But I do want to, if I can, give a little bit of slack for the part of the movie that y'all hated on the most, which was the ending, the love bit. Because, right, is it the best delivered? No, but is it kind of a fun trope of, like, possession and, like, surviving possession using, like, the true love's first kiss type thing, right? Looking at Lisa as, like, actually the prince, and because, again, Jesse is meant to be, like, the Scream King. It was, like, Jesse is still the main character. It's still, like, the princess getting true love's first kiss type shit, like, but with Freddy Krueger, so it's gross and weird. It's a good idea. And if you want to, like, look at it, like, again, this movie reminded me in a really weird way of that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Mac Finds His Spirit. Like, I know it's funny, but, like, that the end of that episode is actually, like, truly beautiful. Like, and, like, there is something, like, this movie is way ahead of its time in its, like, LGBT positivity. Like, and there is something about, like, Freddy Krueger being this, like, masculine thing, and it took like the femininity of, like, what we culturally consider to be gay versus straight, and kind of, like, that's what saved Jesse in the end. Like, there's something very cool about that to me. Like, and, you know, like, Mac sees his sexuality in that episode as a woman that he's dancing with that, like, embraces him in the end, and the same thing with this. There's something kind of, like, cool. Like, this is me being a little bit too serious, but there's something like weirdly beautiful about this dumb slasher movie. Like
Too serious for what?
I don't know. I'm
For
usually
our show, we've
yeah.
definitely had more than enough moments of too
I
serious.
I know. I'm usually the bit guy, so I don't know. I'm just having a moment.
Every bit
Bobby,
guy's got
you
his
can,
moment.
You can be whoever you want to be. Okay,
That's
we're
right.
accepting
That's
of you.
right.
All right, and in the way that we accept you, we would love to accept your score deposited into our ears on a scale of 0 to 5,
Oh, man.
with half points allowed. What did you think of this film?
I think it's a 4 out of 5. I think it's a 4 out of 5. There's a part of me that wants to give it a 4.5 out of 5. And I think I'm going to go for it. It's a 4.5 out of 5. It's a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, I like
Dance.
I like this movie. I like this movie a lot. I think it's very, very good. I think it's masterfully done. I think what it also is it's incredibly well acted. Like there are people in this movie who Mark Patton should have had a much better career than what he got, and because he absolutely steals the show. It's very hard to steal the show from Robert Englund, and yet he does it, like easily does it. So like as a character actor, like fuck, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. I really like this. I don't care if you guys skew me in a different direction. This movie fucking owns Bones.
I'll go next. I gave A Nightmare on Elm Street a 4.5 out of 5 initially when that was first viewing. So I came into this film, I mentioned already that I kind of came into this film not necessarily with negative thoughts, but just I was apprehensive, you know? I didn't know exactly what I was going to get, and I was just shocked at what I got. I couldn't believe how good of a film it was. And when I was thinking about score, I mean, there's still we've talked about them a fair bit of like some of the acting's pretty phoned in. Most of what Lisa does is kind of just there, but the bits that shine really do shine like strongly in this film, much more than I anticipated that it would. Like I always try to think through what do I think this movie is going to be when I start the film. What is my expectation? And I was like, I think this is going to be a middle of the road film, and I thought when I hit play, it was going to be a 2.5. And that's come up all the way to a 4 for me. I was astounded at just how enjoyable and how, again, I said it earlier, every 15 minutes I kept going, when is this supposed to be bad? Because this is just good and a lot of fun. So, 4 out of 5.
Alan confirmed. Reformed homophobe.
There we go. See? That was all a ploy. It's actually a 0. It's actually
Oh boy. Okay, so I've always enjoyed the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but it's also always been third for me out of the big three, the traditional big three of the 80s. And I think that this movie does a lot of things right.
What the big three would being Hellraiser's
Nightmare, Freddy. Oh, of course, Hellraiser, Texas Chainsaw, and Nightmare on Elm Street. Obviously,
yes.
Yes, of course. But anyway, this movie it has a lot of things going for it, and I think a lot of it comes down to the script. I think that there's a lot of things that are a little bit weird about it, though. Also, like it's really oddly edited at times. I think that kills are really oddly cut away from basically every time. I think that as Mark Patton is really, really good, but he's almost acting for a different movie sometimes. Like nobody else is quite acting up to that like level, and it can make him feel a little bit out of place. As good as his bits are. So I think you have a lot of like really great scenes with like him and Robert Englund, who are both, I would say, putting out performances at that level. But when he's interacting with a lot of the rest of the cast, it almost feels like hammy at times because it's a little bit over. And I think that the pacing is not great. I think that at times the movie feels a little bit slow, and the kills are all really oddly like clumped together at the 50-minute mark, which is really strange. I like the movie a lot, but I don't think it's quite a 4. I would probably say a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's good. It's better than average for sure. Better than it deserves to be. But I think that a lot of what's good is kind of holding up against, you know, the things that are not so good. And Bobby mentioned it earlier that we have to remember that this is a slasher, and I don't know that this fully succeeds at actually being a slasher, despite it being a good movie. So 3.5.
That's not all we do on this horror podcast. We also decide whether or not A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, is essential to horror as a whole. Now, of course, as you all know, dear listener, this is spoiler-free. And I think it's important to recognize that I gave the correct score of a 4.5 out of 5. I don't care. Ellen gave it a reasonable score of a 4 out of 5. And Corbin gave whatever score of 3.5 out of 5. Now, I think we should continue to raise the bar and go in the order from lowest score to highest score.
Sure.
Corbin.
Yeah.
Is it essential?
So I think that this is an interesting one because we've talked before about essentiality as it goes. Like if you were breaking out into subgenres, right? I've said like, oh, if I was making a top 10 of X genre for Y decade, would this be on there, right? And I think that if I were making a list of essential slasher movies from the 80s, would this movie be on there? I would probably say no. But I think that, you know, and this was reflected in our review session and most of our discussion, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 has kind of done more than that. It's like bigger than actually being a slasher. And I might have given it the lowest score, but I think that is still really, really important, not just to the franchise, but to horror as a whole. And I think that especially now we see that, right? The way that it kind of subtly impacted the rest of the series, even the Wes Craven ones, and even with the other actors that didn't like the second movie, the way like they took a lot from the second movie. And even outside of that, you know, the undertones, the overtones, everything was really big for the time. And you know, we're still talking about this movie. There's a documentary about this one movie, which is a fact that the rest of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise cannot say.
No.
And I think that it might not be an essential slasher, but it is an essential movie to horror. So I'm going to say yes, it is.
So I don't have nearly the knowledge base, I would say, that Corbin has when it comes to thinking through the wider basis of horror. Never have. Probably never will. What?
Not with that attitude.
That's fair.
Got his ass.
But when I was watching this, I've said it multiple times, I just was waiting for it to be bad. Because that's kind of what I've heard. This film really surprised me a lot. And it also, I think, what I think makes it essential is I think that it finds a way to just kind of stand on its own a bit compared to the first. Like, when I think, I didn't ever think that this is exactly what I would get out of a Nightmare on Elm Street film. I really didn't necessarily expect it to kind of go into this like real world type thing and really blend, you know, what is and isn't real. And I think that's just interesting. I like those types of films. And I also think this is just a good showcase for the inventiveness that this franchise kind of is just the embodiment of. I think it's just a good example of that. So I'm also going to say yes. I think it is essential to horror.
I'll just start out by saying yes. I gave it the highest score. If you thought I wasn't going to say yes to this, but let me explain why. Because I kind of told all of that, at least part of it during the spoiler warning, but also primarily during the review. This movie is kind of weird because you can track people's taste or distaste for this movie on a same metric as people's taste or distaste for human beings who happen to be attracted to the same gender, right? So like there is this like it like all other parts of queer horror, this is like it's important, and it being part of a franchise as big as A Nightmare on Elm Street, arguably the biggest horror franchise of all time, arguably, right? That
Arguably.
Freddy, more people know who Freddy Krueger is than they know who Jason Voorhees is, right?
I don't think that's true.
I think people know I don't know, man. People know anyway. I'm gonna stand by it.
Okay.
Are arguably the most iconic, right? Now, I think that's incredibly important, right? And this movie is recently, we had the benefit of hindsight because we're watching it while this movie's stocks are on the rise, right? They've been on the rise for like the last like 10, 15 years, but they're still going up. But this movie fucking kicks ass, and I shudder to think what I would have thought about this movie in like junior high, right? Like
That's fair.
But like
Yeah,
now,
okay, yeah.
now I get to be now I'm a mature fucking adult who and I can be like, yeah, this movie's really cool, and like so yeah, it's absolutely essential. It is an essential piece of queer horror.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Oh, well, speaking of queer horror, where can we find you guys, and what have you been up to lately? Alan, why don't you open us up?
So I was about to do the exact same just bring around. I was literally about to do it because I'm like, well, the opportunity is right there, so we have to take it.
Yeah, you can't pass that up.
You can find me at a seal punter just about anywhere. I haven't been up to much. I picked up Resident Evil 4, haven't touched it at all because, like the rest of my co-hosts here, I played some Diablo 4 beta this weekend. This game's going to be a problem, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a problem for us because it's the Diablo 2 sequel that we never got, but now we have it, and it's wonderful. So that was one of the big ones for me. Other than that, not much. I'm boring this week. I got nothing going on. A seal punter.
Well,
Yeah.
You can find me at twitch.tv/theredweenie, where you can see me playing Diablo 4, or sometimes I play Destiny. That's basically the things that I did this week. I played Diablo 4, and unlike Alan, I actually did hit level 20, so it means I will be getting the cutie pie wolf pup.
whoa, Alan, you didn't hit level 20?
No.
Bro, what are you doing?
What did you do?
I played Warhammer on Sunday. That's what happened.
Bro, I played a lot of Warhammer this weekend,
We'll
and
get to
I
that.
level 20.
But yeah, I'm gonna quote my buddy Jack. Jack said, "Oh man, I can't wait to be playing this game for the next couple of years." So yeah, like it's gonna be an issue. I'm looking forward to it. I played the Necromancer and the Barbarian. Both were really fun. I will probably end up playing Necromancer to start the game. Had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, twitch.tv/TheRedWinnie. Follow me then. Follow me now so you can watch me then.
Nice. You can find me on Twitter at Corbangarang or at Bolters_Bourbon. The second one is where I talk about Warhammer pretty much exclusively. What have I been doing for the last week? It has been 5 long days of Warhammering. I went to Adepticon, which is the one of the largest wargaming conventions in the world, and it's right here in the Chicagoland area, which is awesome. I took a bunch of painting classes. I spent a lot of money. I competed on Saturday in my first major tournament, which was awesome.
And how'd you do in that?
I took 5th place. So it was an Age of Sigmar tournament. I played Night Haunt. It was 1,000 points. I took 5th competitively and got the award for Best Death General, which is just a great thing that happened. I'm still very excited about it.
We're all pretty good at the game, apparently.
Right. You can see me talking all about that on Twitter. Besides that, I, of course, also somehow found time between staying up until 3 a.m. to finish painting my army and competing, and played the Diablo 4 beta this weekend. I did hit level 20. I played Barbarian. I did a 2-handed sword bleed build, which just seemed really intuitive to me and very fun. I loved it. Barbarian was my very first class. I've been playing Diablo since 2002, and I just cannot get enough of it. Like Bobby said, we'll be playing this, I'm sure, for a couple of years. I still play Diablo 3. That game is 10 years old. I still play Diablo 2. It's 20 years old.
I still play Diablo 2. I get that.
It's so good.
I imagine I will have children in college when I'm playing this game still, and no regrets at all. It's simply fantastic. And
Diablo 5 will be out by then.
Yeah, but I'll still go back. I still go back and play the older ones now.
That's
I
fair.
played Diablo 1 like a month ago. But yeah, at Corbangarang, at Bolters_bourbon. You can find the podcast anywhere at Essential Scares. And by anywhere, we of course mean Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and not anywhere else. So it's a very narrow anywhere. In the bios for all of our socials, we have links to the other socials in case you can't find us, and also to our Discord, where we talk all the time about movies, games, music, and more, including this past weekend. We were talking about Diablo 4. So if you played the beta and you want to chat about it, or if you're just excited about the full release, pop up in there and let's talk. We are always taking recommendations for future franchises to cover. We are inching towards our 100th episode spectacular here. And we have, I believe, I did the math earlier, room for a single 2-movie franchise in between this and that. So if you have a suggestion for a 2-movie franchise that you'd like us to cover, hit us up. But that is it for this weekend. For this week, yeah. Thank you so much to everybody for listening or watching. If you like the show, give us a thumbs up, a review, a rating, a subscribe, a like, share us with your friends, your family, your coworkers, people you like, people you hate. And catch us next week, where we'll be covering I don't know what, because I'm traveling for work and I'll be off the show again. Alan and Bobby will be doing a one-off without me. And
I forgot. We said we were going to do that because we wanted you to be there for Dream Warriors. Fuck.
Who knows what wonderful majesty they'll be watching, but I'll listen to it just like you will.
Uh-oh.
Thank you to Alan and Bobby for being on the show with me this week. And thank you for hosting next week while I'm gone.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude.
I've been your host, Corbin, and this has been Essential Scares.
Play that breakdown, baby.
Oh, whoops.
Whoa!